Greetings, DMs, GMs, and players. This is the Insomniac GM, and just like my name applies, I am struggling to get sleep, so figured this is the perfect time to make a video. Plus, it's spooky season right now, and I'm very disappointed in myself in the lack of spooky related content. I want to cover actual monsters on the week of Halloween, maybe on Halloween. But for now, I will talk about Carcosa. Carcosa is an OSR setting. Now, you can purchase this book, and I would say it's pretty easy to convert to 5th edition. I mean, there's some tweaking you may need to do, but that's really for just the monsters. But Carcosa is set in the city that the story The King in Yellow is set in. Well, one of the stories. It's a Lovecraftian setting. So expect a whole bunch of crazy things in this setting. It's kind of like Land of the Lost, if you ever seen the movie or the TV show, but cranked up to 11. I'll just show you as we go through. But when you first open it, you get the entire map of this world. So you can keep track of where the players are moving, and you'll actually see that each hex is numbered, and you can go through this book actually see what's with that hex, and it can even give you little story hooks based on that location you go to. So the first thing we should talk about with this book is everything is completely random. Every time your players get in an encounter, they need to roll to see what their hit points are like in that fight. They may have more hit points in their second fight than they did in their first. It's just crazy, and it affects even the monsters. So you could fight a grunt one time. I'll use deep ones as an example. You can fight a deep one, and let's just roll a d20. I got a 12, so I would use a d8 for the monster's hit points. But the second time I use it, that time I got a 15, I would use a d10 for its hit points. Which later on I'll go through deep ones because that's something your players are going to be afraid to go through. Now, the setting does have 2 classes of its own. I've never actually gotten around to running the setting. I've read it pretty much cover to cover a few times, but realistically, I'd probably just take Lamentations of the Flame Princess and just run that instead of this. But yeah, they do have races in here, but it's not your dwarf, your elf, etc. You have blue people, you have green people, you have people who are jet black or crazy white, white as snow. They also threw in some names of other colored people who the colors don't exist. There's Jail and there's Allfire, which once again I'm reading upside down, so I'm not gonna try to read a paragraph to you guys, but it actually states if your players ask what those colors look like, you can read from it and just tell them what that color means or what that color looks like. This game does use psionics, so whatever, say you use Lamentations, if somebody's a fighter or a wizard or whatever, it really does not matter. Someone One person may have little psionic powers, others may not. Now, like I said, this game is kind of like Land of the Lost, but on crack. So you got like aliens. I mean, the fact I use Lamentations, there's like now fantasy thrown in, and there's technology, there's spaceships, just anything like could be here. You know, so they have rules for bombs, grenades, they got guns, etc., etc. Now, they do have a bunch of story hooks you could use pre-made for you if you don't know what you want to run. Pretty good chunk of it too, to be honest. Now, they do also have rituals. One of the two classes can cast rituals. I will warn you now, some may be upset with what they see in the rituals. I will just warn you, don't play this game unless you're an adult. Like, this is not for kids. And, like, it's content in there that I'm not upset that it's in it, but I'm never going to use it. And this is probably the only time I may even mention it. Now, you have the bestiary. Like I was saying, you have all those monsters. So I'm going to show you guys the deep ones, like I was saying before. So here's where the deep ones get crazy. So if your players run across a deep one, you roll on the number to appear. So in this case, okay, so I got 52. So the players would run across 52 deep ones. Now, their armor class would be 16. Well, we go back to the page earlier about the dice, and we roll a d20. I got a 14. So I'm using a d10 to determine their hit points. So every deep one has 6 health because I rolled a 5 and it's 1 die plus 1. They give you a little description about the deep ones, how they're chaotic in alignment, they're aquatic, etc., etc. If you've read H.P. Lovecraft's work, this is like a little treat for you. Now, before I was mentioning that the book had a map with hex spots, and these are what they are. So let's say 1610. The players go to 1610. So I'd go through here, and I almost should have just faked this, but I'd like to be more real and genuine with you guys. So we go to 1610, and it tells me that, I'm just going to read the small one, but it says, the village of 370 red men ruled by the lover of the peace, a lawful 5th level sorcerer. So that's something that's going on over there. You can take that and build up more. There's a bigger paragraph on something else you can do with that too. I'm not going to try to read you guys a paragraph upside down. I'm sorry. But there's a lot of story hooks you can use. Now, they also have, I think these are like more story hooks or something like that. They do have, based on what terrain the players are going through, to roll on what kind of encounter they come across. So let's say 1610 was a desert, or yeah, we'll just say it's a desert. So I roll a d6, and if I roll a 1 or a 2, the players run across an encounter. Actually, I rolled a 2, so they would. And then you would go into 1610. I wish I didn't close that page. And that's what it was. It tells you what they can go up against. They go up against Redmen, which are 1-hit die. So, it has an encounter table. Monsters you can run across in each terrain and the chance of running across them. So, like, say we went with the desert, I'd roll a D100. I got a 26. So they would run across a dome pudding as an encounter. Yeah, they have what the encounter chances are as you go through further in the dungeon. They have rules for there's one monster called the Spawn of Shub-Niggurath, and every spawn the players tried to fight or they come across is different from the last. And this is a table to generate how these ones are. They're always different from each other. Then we have rules for aliens, like space aliens and that. Different weapons they can use in that. We also have rules for robots the players can run. I've tested out this before. I remember I generated like a robot that had like broken legs, so it was using like its like boosters or whatever to just kind of like hover in the air the whole time. And they kind of always stuck with me, like the craziness I could do with this game. But also there's mutations that players can go through. Could also do that with them enemies there. But anything you can think of is in this world, you know? It's fantasy, science fiction. You could really screw with your players' minds with this book. I personally, I think it's a good system that you could use in OSR, like I would use for this. You could use it in 5th edition. You could probably use it in like Pathfinder and Starfinder, but I don't know about the whole randomness of the tables and that. That's kind of up to you. But oh, I should mention that some of the random encounters in here that the players can run across are actual gods, like evil gods. So, horror setting based on the King in Yellow. I love this book. If you can't tell with all the little tags in it. But this was just a ramble I did last second just because I couldn't sleep. And also because, frankly, I wanted to do a Halloween video. So I hope you guys got as much out of this as you would. If you were to run this, what system would you use it in? Would you just use Carcosa as is? Would you use it in the OSR, 5e? I'd love to hear. Well, until next time.